Occupy. PPI. Spread the word.
Living the life.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to Living the Life on Wednesday, the 16th of January, with Rahim Jang.
And with Naeem Raza. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Now, Payment Protection Insurance, also known as PPI, that's a subject that has constantly been in the news headlines.
Today we'll be exploring how to claim back these missold fees through Islamic means. Joining us tonight is a man who knows all about it. Welcome to the show, Abdul Latif Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome. Now, obviously I challenged you at the show, before the show, so find out what that guy does for a living.
I know, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I got a text the other day. I'm owed £3,000.
No.
Yeah, have you ever got that text?
Many times.
Oh, yeah.
I keep sending stop, but maybe now, with Abdul Latif here, I'm going to do something about it. But I noticed during the break, your phone was going crazy.
I got
you
one
get
of
text
those
messages.
Someone said they can get me £3,000.
£3,000.
Yeah, they said I'm owed
How's
some
that?
money.
Where's that from?
PPI, something like that.
PPI.
Yeah, what's that?
Never heard of it.
Well,
but I know a guy who knows a lot about it.
Maybe our next guest does.
Welcome. Abdul Latif Ahmed, assalamu alaikum.
Welcome.
Now, the last thing, when you came into the studio, the last thing I thought about was PPI.
Subhanallah.
The last time I had PPI, I took paracetamol. Now look, PPI, you're an organisation, your business is called OccupyPPI.
That's a great name.
Payment Protection Insurance.
That's right.
And obviously we've heard a lot. What is Payment Protection Insurance?
Well, so it's exactly what it says on the tin, I guess. It protects an individual if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid they fall sick or something happens and it renders them unable to pay the payments back.
Mortgage and
So
all
they
that.
kind
So
of step in
basically
and-
it's insuring you against loss of earnings.
It is, yes.
That's the main
That's
thing.
exactly what it does.
Now, what's the story? Because we hear about it on the news all the time. It's in the headlines. All of us receive those texts and making a joke about that, saying road money. What is the big news about it? Why is there suddenly this big push from lots of companies telling us to reclaim our PPI? What's going on there?
Well, the FOS, I mean, they received quite a few complaints, and as it happens...
Sorry, what's the FOS?
The Financial Ombudsman.
Financial Ombudsman.
They received quite a lot of complaints, and as it happens, it went to High Court. And in 2011...
But what was the complaint?
April.
What was the issue?
Being charged for the policy and not being informed about it. There was many instances. I mean, they were different. Vary.
Right, so
vary.
people were being charged for the policy, not being told about it. So money's come out of people's bank accounts, etc.
Yes, pretty much. But in most instances, if they're not being informed about it, that's just one case. I mean, they all vary. In some instances, you're not informed about the interest that accrues when you're actually taking out the PPI policy. Then there's instances where you're not told that you've got an option to shop around. There's quite a few.
So there were
which make you
irregularities
qualify.
in the way these things were issued.
Yes.
And the ombudsman
Actually,
or the
what I'd
government...
like to know is how far back are we talking here?
This is in
Trying to find out if we get
2011.
claiming, you know.
Oh, well, maybe around 6 years. From 6 years from now, you can actually claim. So if your policy expired 6 years ago,
right,
yeah, you can claim.
Still make a claim.
You qualify.
So you're claiming. So what are you claiming back? You're claiming back these fees that you paid, and where does this money come from?
Right, well, let's say you've made your contributions for, as an example, a typical example, £500 monthly towards a...
Who would have sold me this? The bank?
In most
My
instances,
employer?
in most instances, unless you've been asked to provide one yourself.
Right, okay.
Or shop around for one for yourself. But in any case, the bank actually sells it to you, and it was commission-based, so I guess there was some sort of pressure there.
There was incentive.
Of
yeah.
course.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
incentive.
yeah. Where was a commission?
Selling it.
There's a
And
blame.
People ended up buying them and felt pressure. There was a perfect example just a few days ago where this individual showed me their policy, and it was 6 years of payments they've been making and contributions being made, and it summed up to around £6,000. That's a considerable amount of money.
So do people get back the money that they paid, or is there some kind of compensation as well? And the big question I've got for you is how do we balance this with Islamic principles around interest and loans and all of that? Because that's where you come in.
That's where you come in, exactly.
Subhanallah. Now, what had happened is, I mean, like yourself, I mean, I wasn't too familiar with the PPI industry. But it was mentioned to me, and for some reason it grabbed my attention, and I looked into it. After having done a considerable amount of research, I came to a point where I guess, exasperated all the options, and there was no one that was actually catering for a claim for PPI which was halal. There's something called statutory interest.
Right, okay. I just wanted to ask you, what is the difference between halal and non-halal?
Well, that's exactly what I'm commenting now. There's something called statutory interest, and that was basically, the courts ruled that the banks, in addition to the interest that you've actually paid towards a policy, now this is very important, that we end up paying interest when we take out the policy. Not only do we pay interest on the mortgage, which in and of itself is a haram thing to do, and we have to accept that, find a moment of solitude and seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that. You know, there's many people who find that they're engaging in mortgages because they don't have an option. There's nothing out there, there's nothing available, there's no other options. So unfortunately, to get onto the property like that, they find themselves taking mortgages out, loans out, or whatever the situation may be. But in this instance, what happens when you're claiming back PPI, well, you've been paying towards PPI, you're paying interest on that also. Now, the client, in most instances, the customer's not aware of this. So, alhamdulillah, there's an opportunity that's presented itself where you can actually claim back your PPI premiums, plus the interest that you paid towards it. Now, because it was haram for us to pay, to claim back that money is a good thing in and of itself. But in addition, the courts have ruled that you can actually claim 8% interest, which is statutory interest, from the banks. Now, this is where I took issue. It's like, well, hold on. If you end up claiming that, that will render the whole claim haram.
Then suddenly everything becomes haram.
Absolutely.
So how do you get around it?
So, alhamdulillah, I had a bit of a face-off with the Ministry of Defence, Ministry of Justice, mashallah. Freudian slip there, mashallah. But with the Ministry of Justice. And it was to and fro, there was some correspondences between us. And we locked horns together. It went to their department, and I guess all their colleagues kind of grappled with the whole issue. What I was concerned about is the courts ruling what I myself should, ought to or ought not to claim. So I thought that was unfair, and for them to kind of oblige me into a situation where I have to claim interest.
Saying that you have to claim this back.
The statutory interest.
Yeah.
So when they said it's statutory and you have to claim it, and I said, well, that's not, it's not acceptable. So we kind of locked horns on this issue. Finally, they came to a point where they came to a compromise, alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, and here we go, really. I was issued a license with...
I think, Hafsa, I mean, obviously PPI and these kind of things are probably not going to mean much to many of your students. Right, but do you actually put in articles and content that might prepare them for life after university?
I was thinking specifically about student loans, because there's an issue with student loans and interest and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's something to think about. But inshallah, we will look into that, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, look, Brother Abdul Latif, we're going to come back and find out a little bit more, because what I want to find out...
I'm going to show you one of the texts I've got.
I want to find out about who is likely to be able to claim this back, first of all. How much they're likely to get, and how do they go about it.
Okay.
So, inshallah, we're going to come back in a little bit. Alhamdulillah. Well, look, coming back to our guests, mashallah, we have a quick couple of questions for you before we go. We don't have long,
so we want to find out how much can we earn?
No, we need to find out who can claim, and how do they claim.
Well, anyone who's actually taken out a policy and, let's say, the policy doesn't cover the length of the loan, the duration of the loan, they can claim. Anyone who wasn't informed or wasn't aware that there was interest that accrued on the policy, they can claim. If anyone felt pressured into getting the policy, otherwise they wouldn't have qualified for the loan, they can claim.
You have evidence of being pressured.
No, but am I right?
You don't really need
but am I right that most people don't even realise? So what type of policies are we talking about that people have taken out? Not the insurance bit. What other types of policies are we talking about that people might have been offered protection insurance and they weren't aware of it?
Well, I'm not quite sure whether I've understood the question, really, because...
What I'm saying is that...
Is it just PPIs, or is it other policies that might
actually... PPI. It's PPI
only, right, okay.
It's PPI that you
that's
can
not my
claim
point.
back.
My point is, judging by what I've heard in the media and the radio, many people don't know that they were even sold one.
That's right.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
They don't even know they were sold one. So
no.
what type of things do people need to check? If, for instance, there's no point me checking it. I never took out any loan for anything in my life.
Bank statement.
It's very unlikely. If they had a mortgage or a car loan or an insurance thing, what type of things would they check?
Well, you'd find it at the initial agreement, not necessarily the bank statement.
And this is for a mortgage
only? The credit cards.
Would that be right?
The credit cards would show on the bank statement.
Credit
the
card?
statements.
Okay. Yeah.
But the mortgages or the loans, that would be on the initial agreement, whether you were actually sold a PPI policy or not. So that's right. Yeah, you'd have to go back to the.
And to summarise, there is a halal way now of getting that money back and claiming it.
OccupyPPI.co.uk.
Fantastic. Well, that was going to be the next question.
Yeah,
OccupyPPI.co.uk.
And what kind of time are we looking at, between contacting someone like yourself?
8 weeks.
Getting the
actually,
money.
Actually, as it happens, we're actually the first, another first, e-claim PPI company, so nationwide. No,
Yeah,
you
so I'm
can't
just trying
actually
to
make
work
a
out when I
claim.
should go for my holidays
So
and
it'll
pay
take
for
8
them.
weeks. 8 weeks from the moment you've made the claim to process the claim. 8 weeks, and
8
hopefully
weeks,
you receive a
that's
check
you
in the
fancy coming
post.
with me? Could be £6,000 in it.
I'll be joining you.
To join. So look, let's
Yeah.
see what the viewers
Actually,
are
you know
saying.
what, Abdul Latif, who do you think's overpaid?
I can tell you who's underpaid. Our mashaykhs and I guess the teachers at the
that's a
madrasas,
nice one,
mashallah.
The teachers at madrasas, very good.
Yeah, I
story.
like that
They
one. That's
really
a
are.
very good one because that's
Honestly,
one
they
that
really
I
are
thought about.
underpaid.
Well, look, we'll just take a few more messages before we leave because it has gone a little bit crazy today, alhamdulillah. You've really taken a lot of interest. Let me see. Oh, you know, it's moving so fast here. I don't know where I was last time. Here we go. We've got Khafila. I think it should be mothers. They are the first teacher.
Mothers.
Nice
You know
twist.
what?
Nice twist.
Mothers are winning hands down.
Actually, Ziyad, he's got Abdul Latif. Alhamdulillah. Molanas deserve a better salary. There is no better work than deen work. Alhamdulillah.
Well, look, unfortunately, we are out of time
Unfortunately,
again.
indeed.
But thank you once again for tuning in and, of course, for getting in touch today in the massive numbers. A big thank you to our guest, Abdul Latif Ahmed.
And of course, Sister Hafsa Abbas, Jazakallah khairan. Do join us tomorrow for the final show of the week. From myself, Naeem.
And from myself, Rahim.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.